Grass. That didn't take long. However, what did take long is... No, we're not going into that again. I mean, I'm probably going to go into that again, but every single video of this always begins with me talking about the delay, and it just kind of gets old after a while. So, I have a number of reasons why there was a long break between videos. Some of them are legitimate, some of them are bullshit. We don't really need to go into any of that. But right now, we're just looking for a few Pokemon I need to catch, such as this Doduo. There should be, I think, 3 of them in this grass patch, and then 1 of them on the next route. Let's just kill it with an Iron Tail. I should also probably turn off animations at some point, but whatever. So anyway, I'm kind of expecting this one to be sort of a shorter video. I always say that, and then it turns out to be like 2 hours long, but, okay, yeah, we're gonna need to use a move that doesn't kill stuff. I was mainly leading with David because he was the lowest level of the team, and that is no longer the case, so I can justify switching out. You're my dedicated catcher anyway, so that works. So yeah, last time we went partway through the routes leading up to Victory Road and then just kind of stopped. And so I'm going to be continuing that, going through Victory Road, which... because this is Gen 2, means it is a very, very arduous and difficult path full of many strong trainers and puzzles. Okay, we need to stop killing all the local wildlife here. I might just need to weaken them with Nightmare at this point. But, so yeah, we're gonna get through that and not actually do the Elite Four. I feel like that should probably be its own video. Just start it, like, at the beginning, end it at the end. That's it. No anything before or anything after, just the Elite Four. So that will mean that this is just going to be kind of like the weird leftover bits that I didn't feel like doing last time. And also me telling a story about some stupid crap that happened to me a couple days ago. But I was going to wait to do that until after getting out the Pokemon bios that I need to do. The trouble with that is actually catching something that I need and not killing it, and not running into a bunch of Arbok and Raticate that I don't want. So I'm going to give this one more encounter to actually catch it, like, properly while talking and peeing, but, okay, this is the moment. This is my moment of glory! Mario! But, yeah, we're just gonna kind of do some sped up post-commentary garbage over this while I catch the other things I need to get. Let's afflict this thing with some devils. Now, if this was a later generation, I think Doduo would have early bird and it would actually wake up super quick. So this would probably not be a very sound strategy. I'm gonna throw mud at it because it's totally in the air, because it's a flying type and therefore can dodge my ground type attacks, even though you'd think throwing mud wouldn't necessarily be ground based. So really this is just a good situation all around. Just non-flying bird, non-ground based ground attack. Yeah, good stuff. And is it gonna die from the Nightmare? I think it'll survive with 1 HP, so I get a second chance after this. Didn't matter. Okay, so let's begin the string of Pokemon bios then, and I will be back with you when everything is dead. Going in Pokedex order and ignoring evolutions, Doduo is the 4th normal flying type, and is also probably the last of the 4 that you're going to encounter in Gen 1 in a normal playthrough. But it's also generally considered the best of the 4. Maybe not necessarily for a casual player who wants to have their team decided early on, but if you decide to wait to pick this as your flying type, then you're generally going to have a better time than if you stick with one of the earlier ones. The reason for that is because the others, Pidgey and Spearow and the much worse Farfetch'd, do have a slightly more balanced stat spread. They put points into a special stat that they don't really need, and have HP and defense, which of course is always helpful to have, whereas Doduo focuses almost entirely on just hitting stuff quickly and with a lot of damage. It has 85 attack and 75 speed, even just in its unevolved form, so it does a pretty good job at that. And it also has access to what is probably the best flying-type move in the early generations, which is Drill Peck. Now, one thing that I always mention with a lot of Gen 1 Pokemon in regard to their moveset is that it's just very limited, and like even with TMs, you sometimes don't really have the ability to get much type coverage. And that is the case with Doduo. Like, if you're going to use one in a Gen 1 game, you're probably going to give it like Drill Peck, Tri-Attack, and a couple other sort of filler moves. But it's kind of interesting because while that's also a trend, there's also the trend of, like, in the earlier games, the better moves are locked behind super high levels, and in later games, they kind of make them a bit more accessible. With Doduo, it's actually sort of the opposite. Drill Peck used to be a level 30 move, but now it's actually 43. And Tri-Attack, even though it is just a normal type move, it's still a pretty powerful one. It went, like, this one actually did follow the usual trend. It started at 40, went down to 21 in Gen 2, and then starting with Gen 4, it was actually eliminated completely, which I guess makes sense because it has 2 heads and not 3. That's same for the evolution. So, yeah, as for what this thing is, I mean, it's pretty clearly just kind of, they wanted to make another Pokemon with 2 heads. They had a few that had 3 heads or whatever. Here, it's basically just, they took a flightless bird, which you would think is a dodo based on its name. The Japanese name is also dodo, and the English beta name was supposed to be. But it doesn't really look like a dodo. It's basically kind of a hybrid between a kiwi and like an ostrich or emu. It has the long beak and just sort of the general look of a kiwi, but it has the longer neck and legs that the ostrich has. So it's just kind of a hybrid of various flightless birds. And so of course a lot of people then also bring up, if it's flightless, why is it considered a flying type? Why can it learn the move Fly? And those are good questions. They don't really have much of an answer, but I'll probably talk about it when I go over Dodrio in a few seconds anyway. But overall, not the worst you could do for a flying type if you don't want to go with one that also has like a different, more interesting type attached to it. Your options to use one are slightly limited though, because it's mid-game in Gen 1, Safari Zone in Gen 3, which is also kind of late mid-game, and early game Gen 6, and that's basically it. Other than that, it's always post-game or like really super late. Well, we already struggled to fill 4 minutes talking about Doduo, so now we get to do the same thing for Dodrio, even though I already spent pretty much everything I could on the previous one. So, this one's pretty straightforward. We have Doduo, which is a 2-headed bird, and now we have a 3-headed one, and it's called Dodrio because it's a trio instead of a duo. Not really any more insight that can be given on that name. The Japanese name is also basically the same, it's just Dodorio. And I didn't mention this last time, but like, since it doesn't really look like a dodo, the name was probably just picked because it's the same syllable twice, so it kind of fits with it having 2 heads. And sort of coincidentally, it also works pretty well with Pidgey, which was Popo, and Hoot Hoot, which was Ho-Ho. So you just kind of got 3 of those. But yeah, really it's just one of those evolutions that just kind of tacks an extra head on. We already had Diglett and Magnemite split from 1 to 3. This one split from 2 to 3. And this one makes more sense because it already started with more than 1 head in the first place, and that was kind of its whole motif to begin with. So it's probably the, like, most excused of the 3 by people who like to point that out as being lazy. Not that there's really any kind of precedence for there being multi-headed birds in, like, mythology or anything, but whatever, it works. So, basically, it's just Doduo, but more so. It still has the very min-maxed stats, focusing highly on just speed and attack. Decent enough move pool for what it is. Normal flying types usually don't get a whole lot, but at least get some stuff some stuff to work with. It has, like, Jump Kick, early on as Doduo, it had Pursuit, which is at least some like non-normal or flying coverage. Actually gets Swords Dance naturally in Gen 7, which is kind of interesting. And as of Gen 4, now exclusively has Tri-Attack, since Doduo didn't get it anymore after that point. Which you can at least get lucky with a random status affliction with that. But really the interesting thing with Dodrio just comes from the fact that it's a non-flying flying type. And I've mentioned this in other bios, I believe, but that probably stems from the fact that in the original game there was going to be a bird type. And so I have to imagine that at some point this family was a pure bird Pokemon, and then there were other ones that were flying but not bird. And then when they decided to condense it into flying, they just kind of slapped normal on a bunch of them, and this one just ended up being normal flying because it's still a bird. When you look at the flying type moves from Gen 1, you have Drill Peck, Fly, Mirror Move, Peck, Sky Attack, and Wing Attack. Pretty much all of them are just kind of like physical things involving parts of a bird's body, or things that a bird does. None of them are like wind or air based. Those start showing up in later generations. And so that still raises the question, why does pecking a bug type do more damage than punching it? Like, why is there an element behind that? But you can kind of just like stretch your disbelief there and not worry about it too much. As for how this thing flies, it's whatever. The actual translation of the Japanese name of the move Fly does kind of mean like big leap more than fly, but that doesn't explain how you can jump across the continent with it. So again, just kind of allow it to be a thing. Don't worry about it.
Ponyta is one of the few pure fire types and the most widely accessible one in all of Gen 1. But that's mostly because the others are either version exclusives or part of some sort of choice, such as the starter Pokemon, Charmander being the choice, and Flareon being one of the 3 evolutions. And the other one, Moltres, is found like literally a foot before the Elite Four, so it doesn't overly count in that. As far as Ponyta goes, it's pretty boring, not gonna lie. Its moveset is pretty plain in the early gens, and even in current games it doesn't learn Flamethrower naturally. Even though it's a fire type that's literally on fire. It was originally stuck with just Ember and Fire Spin, with Fire Blast as a TM, and now it gets a bit more variety with its fire moves, but the rest of the moveset itself is still really generic aside from Bounce, which is basically just Fly but worse. Stat-wise, it mostly focuses on its physical attack and its speed. Being a horse, that makes sense, with the rest of the stats all being pretty mediocre. But since Fire was actually a special stat up until about Gen 4, that meant it wasn't actually playing to its strength all that well. However, you also ended up getting it pretty late in the game, so there was a good chance you probably wouldn't be using the thing anyways. For example, in Gen 1 it was only on Cinnabar Island, Gen 2 it's right around the Elite Four, and Gen 3 it wasn't even anywhere aside from the remakes of the game. Gen 4 was where most people probably ended up using one, because in Diamond and Pearl it was literally the only fire type in the Pokédex aside from Chimchar. And since then it's been absent in basically every other version until the post-game. The latest one it came out in was Pokemon Let's Go, and that was just a remake of Gen 1, so not sure that really counts. So really, Diamond and Pearl were kind of this thing's glory years, and that is not saying much. As far as the origins of the thing goes, it's really is just a pony. Its name was taken from pony, and allegedly the ta at the end of the name comes from the word bonita, meaning nice. But that is debatable. Ponyta is not only its English name, but also its Japanese name, and it pretty much stays the same through almost every other language as well. The main thing that this thing is known from is that one episode of the anime where Ash rode on one for some race that he did, and it ended up being the all-time highest rated episode of the anime for whatever reason. One interesting thing about Ponyta is that it did very recently gain a small peak in popularity when a new form of it was revealed as a Pokemon Shield exclusive. It was a fluffy pink and blue My Little Pony-esque unicorn thing that was shown off in a 24-hour live stream that was done. The new form turned out to be a psychic type, though I think a lot of us would assume it should be a fairy type. Because really, look at that thing. It's like ridiculously fluffy and adorable. And it comes with the abilities Run Away, and a new ability called Pastel Aura, which allegedly makes your entire team immune to being poisoned, as well as cures anything that comes into your team from its poisoning as well. So I think that's pretty cool for a new thing. And I hope it sees a lot of use. Maybe Ponyta will be not as boring for once.
Sandslash is one of those Gen 1 Pokemon that I just never really got behind all that much. It's never been a, huge force in marketing or anything, and it never really had any major roles in the show or anything like that, but I always felt it was fairly popular with people, and from a design standpoint, I can see why. It's a fairly cool, just kind of spiky hedgehog, porcupine, echidna, pangolin thing with big claws, and it's basically just kind of like a more edgy version of Sonic that isn't Shadow. And if you're into that sort of thing, then that's great. For me, I just always kind of overlooked it because the more physically inclined Pokemon just never really seemed that interesting to me. If I had to pick between an animal with some kind of elemental power and one that just has Wolverine claws, even if the one with the Wolverine claws is powerful and is fairly cool in its own right, I'll usually pick the elemental power one, just because it's a little bit more interesting to me. But I think this is demonstrated in no way better than in its move pool, and again, I hate to kind of always resort to talking about this, but not really a whole lot going on with Sandslash. And as far as, usability in the metagame or whatever, I usually don't really pay attention to that much, but, even going through the games as a kid, I would kind of notice if a Pokemon didn't have any moves that really were any good, and if I would have the strategy guide and I'd look up what it would learn and just be like, okay, yeah, this is kind of lame. So in Gen 1, the entirety of this thing's moveset is Scratch, Sand Attack, Slash, Poison Sting, Swift, and Fury Swipes, in that order. The best move that it gets is Slash, which is fitting given its name. It gets that at level 17, so it actually gets it before evolving. And its final move, Fury Swipes, it gets at level 47, and that's one of those multi-hit weak power moves. So, depending on if it hits 2 or 5 times, it can range between 36 to 90 base power, compared to Slash's 70, and 70 has the critical hit, or Slash has the high crit chance, so I just feel like Slash is its best move, unless you teach it TMs. And you'll probably want to teach it some TMs, because you'll notice that none of those moves were ground type. So, it's a ground type that can't learn any ground moves. There seems to be a lot of those for some reason. In Gen 3, they gave it Sand Tomb, which is also not a good move. It would have been okay as a early game type of thing until you get something better, but no, that's all it got. You could still teach it Dig or Earthquake with a TM or something, but naturally that's all it got. It actually took until Black 2 and White 2 specifically, not even the original Black and White, where it actually learned some ground-type attacks. It would get Magnitude, Dig, and Earthquake. It's they finally realized, hey, if we're going to make this thing available in-game, we should actually, make it usable. So, in the more recent games, if you want to pick one up, you can do worse. It also gets Fury Cutter, Gyro Ball for a little bit of extra coverage. Still not my favorite pick, but it's not awful. And, of course, there's also the Alolan Sandslash, which I'm not really going to talk about too much here, but it's cool. I used it in my team. I like its design, and Ice Steel is a cool combination. But yeah, that's about it. Also, just beta English name for this one was Sandstorm. I feel like Sandslash was a good choice over that. And the Japanese name is Sandpan, pan coming from pangolin, which is the animal it's based on. Okay, so we should be all caught up on that then. So I didn't actually realize that the encounter rate for Ponyta on the... I don't remember the numbers of these routes. I think the horizontal one is 27 and the vertical one is 26, so like you go them in reverse order. But yeah, the Ponyta encounter on this first route is actually only 5%, and it's like 20 on the other one. I checked that partway through playing, and it was kind of stupid, but then I found one anyway. So anyway, I don't believe we ever fought this guy, and he's probably a fisherman, which is why it makes perfect sense for me to be leading with a ground type. And one other minor thing that I did off-screen that I forgot to mention earlier is I did finally actually check which trainers give you like evolution stones if they call you, because I had a couple in my list that I didn't really need, and I was missing the one that gave water stones. It's I forget the guy's name. I'll look at it after this battle. It's a fisherman on Route 42, the one between Ekritique and Mahogany. What is it with things surviving with like 1 HP? That's the second time already. So, I've got all 4 of them, like, registered. At some point, eventually, I assume I will get a call for a stone, but, it's unlikely that I'll actually get all the ones I need for filling the Pokédex, so I'll probably just have to force them to, like, call more frequently by doing the Daylight Savings trick, but not gonna worry about that right now. I do feel like I should probably, like, put extra effort into getting a bunch of evolutions, like, now-ish, before the Elite Four, because nothing ever happens in Kanto, and, like, I'll need... Like, I can try and insert them kind of mixed in through the Kanto half of things, but I don't know how that's gonna work out, but I kind of don't care. I'll figure it out. It's like... Usually when it comes to leveling stuff up for Pokédex completion, I just fight wild Pokemon anyway. I don't like going through the Elite Four a bunch of times, but I'll... Like, the wild Pokemon levels in Gen 2 are so freaking low, I'd be here for, like, weeks just trying to level stuff up. So, again, I'm not going to worry about it, I'll figure it out later on. Plus, there's all the stuff that has to be traded up from Gen 1 and all that crap, but yeah. Man, I sure do love it when my team just gets devastated by, like, fairly inconsequential, unthreatening Pokemon. Like a Sea King. I mean, okay, I guess. I do have potions. I don't know if I have revives, so I'll heal after the fight, I guess. This entire playthrough I've been kind of penny pinching because I wasn't sure how much money I was gonna need for, like, buying Game Corner coins to get stuff like Porygon later on. If I need to, I can always just clone nuggets, but I don't know. I don't think I really need to be that concerned about it. So, yeah, I brought some potions. This will be fine for now. So anyway, I mentioned that there were some stupid things that happened recently, and that is true. I'm going to be getting to that in a second. I will mention very quickly for anyone who is not in the know, because it's been quite a while since I've made a, like, proper public video that isn't just uploading an old Patreon video or, like, an old stream or something. I haven't done any recent streams either. I don't think I've mentioned anywhere yet outside of, like, the Discord groups that Martin moved out a couple weeks ago. So it's just me and Joel, and so there were some changes that came with this, some more obvious than others. one of the things was he took the TV, and so I have like the new one hooked up. Like Joel had a big 4K TV that he got a while ago and never used for anything, so he set that one up. And so the computer is outputting to that, and because the computer likes to have issues every 5 seconds, it didn't like that, and like the GPU was having issues because it wasn't receiving enough power to actually like output to that resolution or some shit. I don't frickin' know. So we had to replace a couple more parts in the computer. It's just the whole thing, like, at this point I think the only remaining parts in it that haven't been changed out are the hard drives and like the casing itself. But don't mind that. So that's all basically resolved. Then I had to actually bother hooking up the GameCube to record this, because I haven't used it in a long time, and I apparently didn't have the power or AV cables for it. I guess Martin took both of those when we were kind of, like, splitting up the consoles and stuff. So I'll have to ask for those back at some point. I'm just using ones that I found from Joel's, like, room of various bullshit. He's got this, like, stack of 4 million containers with, like, a bunch of old controllers and cables and doodads and gizmos aplenty and who's its and what's its galore and all that, etc. But yeah, I found that stuff. It wasn't that bad, actually. But anyway, that was, like I said, there's this whole big, like, story that I could get into behind it, but I told it in a Patreon video recently. I kind of don't want to talk about it again. I will, however, like, I don't usually do this, but I was thinking of actually making like a proper announcement video of this. Even though it's kind of out of character for me, basically sort of shilling the like Patreon exclusive stuff, because Sly 2 still has a couple months worth of stuff left, I think, to upload. I don't remember what number I'm on, but I think I ended it on like part 30. And I want to say I'm in, like, the 20s right now, like the early 20s or late teens. So it's got a little bit left, and after that one finishes, I start a, I tried to start Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, but then dropped it, so when I finally get around to actually publicizing those, I'm just going to put all 5 parts of it up at once, rather than make people wait, because it's an incomplete playthrough. But after that was over, I then started a Mario 64 ROM hack called The Mushroom Cup, which I just recently finished, so that's all available to watch if you are in the $10 tier or higher. Yeah, here's the Day Siblings. I know I've encountered a couple of these. I don't really need to read this whole thing. They basically give out held items for, like, increased type damage. There's Sunny of Sunday, Monica of Monday, Tuscany of Tuesday, Wesley of Wednesday, Arthur of Thursday, Frida of Friday, and Santos of Saturday. I don't know why I have this memorized. But anyway, so that whole playthrough is available to watch. It has its ups and downs. I tend to enjoy my Mario 64 ROM hack stuff. It usually turns out pretty funny. You get a lot of mindless wandering and collecting coins and stuff, but you also get some stupid ramblings and making fun of bad level design, and it's just generally a good time. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, you could wait for it to become public, or you could support the municipality by donating to my cause.
I'm dead! I hate losing my planet to aliens, invaders, exoplanets, stealing my fucking shit! Oh my god!
Falling off of shit, because save states are a crutch, so why bother to get good? There's a hamster in my nose. That previous statement was a lie. Okay. Please make the jump. Mario, please make the jump. It's not that hard. Mario, please make the jump and then don't fall. Mario, please make the jump and then don't fall off. Mario, please make the jump and then don't fall off. Please stop Let's Playing I Want to... Please stop Let's Playing I Want to Be the Guy. SNES 9X. SNES 9X. SNES 9X. SNES... Oh my god! This is, certainly not how you're meant to do this. Oh, there is... Did a Hadoo just fly into the window? What the fuck? I heard something hit the window, and I look over, and I saw what looked like a dove flying away. I'm pretty sure a Hadoo just flew into the window. And in addition to that, I am also going to be starting the Link's Awakening remake very soon. I have the first part of that already recorded. I'm probably going to actually upload it the day that I'm recording this, which is October 4th. Can we not get frickin' owned by a horse? Like, that would be great. But, so yeah, like I said, I don't usually like to shill that stuff, because I don't really want to push people who don't have the money to give to somebody who barely uploads as it is, and I perfectly understand that. But, it is an option if you are willing. So, that aside, the actual story I was going to be getting to here, which is fairly stupid and kind of glorious, is, so a few weeks ago I got a jury summons in the mail. This is now the second time this has happened to me, and the first time ended with nothing happening. But, I've gone on record many times in the past saying that I have, like, a deep-rooted fear of just the justice system in general. Not due to any kind of, like, personal history or trauma with it, but I just... The concept of, like, having to... Like, if you're the one who's actually in court, like, if you're having to kind of defend yourself, or, like, if you're the lawyer defending someone else or whatever, like, the concept of that just freaks me out. And if I was to be on a jury, like, having someone else's fate in my hands also freaks me out. So, the last time this happened to me, I was just kind of, like, really, really hoping that I wasn't going to actually get picked to do anything, and I didn't, so it was fine. So for this one, I get the thing a couple weeks ago, and the first day that it comes in, first thing I do, I text message my manager at Pizza Hut. I'm like, hey, I have this thing, October 2nd, it's a Wednesday. I don't know if I would normally work that day, but I need to not work that day. And they're like, that's fine, we'll put it on the calendar, don't worry about it. A few days ago, schedule comes up. They have me working that day. So I'm like, yo, what the fuck? I needed this day off. And they're like, oh yeah, we tried and we couldn't get anyone to fill in because, oh, you know, Anna couldn't come in that day. Dinesh, you can't get a babysitter. And I'm like, I don't fucking care. Like, I needed the day off. Like, someone can come in. Like, one of the managers can do it. Like, I don't give a shit. And they're just like, well, you can come in at, like, maybe 5 o'clock instead of 4. That would be fine. I'm like, I don't know how long I'm gonna be gone, though. Like, plus it's gonna be, like, a big ordeal, and I don't want to fucking go in. Like, what's the problem here? So, it took far longer than it should have, but eventually they gave me the, like, keep in mind, they're legally required to give you the day off if you have jury duty. Like, so, like, if I had just said, fuck it, I'm not coming in anyway, like, they wouldn't have been able to do anything about it, but I wanted the day off, like, officially. So eventually, they finally give me the day off, but it's with strings attached, because then I have to frickin' work the day after anyway, which I normally was gonna have off, so whatever. So, the day comes, it's, I have to work the day before, Tuesday the 1st, and so here's where it starts getting good, and, you wouldn't expect it from what I've said so far, but the story is going to involve, things of a somewhat gross nature. like, bodily fluid type stuff. So I apologize for anybody who's gonna have a problem with that. But, it's like, it is an embarrassing story, but I also want to tell it because of how stupid it is. So, I'm, like, beyond being embarrassed, basically. So, I'm supposed to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning, which is way too goddamn early for me. I'm always, like, I usually sleep until about 11 or 12, and, like, I can get up earlier if I need to, but I don't ever want to. But I get out of work and get home, it's like 11:30. I need to, like, get ready for the next day and everything, so I have to, like, take a shower and stuff. And so I I don't drive, and Martin isn't here anymore to, like, give me rides, and even then I kinda am trying to sort of be a little bit more independent. So I'm like, okay, I can either just take an Uber, which will cost like $30, it's not even that big of a deal, or I can figure out, like, how to take the bus system, and then I can literally be picked up on a bus, and it'll be cool. So, and that's the other thing, is, like, I always hate downloading apps on the phone, because I just am stupid that way, but I download the app for the DART bus system, and figure out what I need to do to get down to Dallas. So, I have all the stuff planned out, and it's like, the bus leaves at 6:15 in the morning. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get up at frickin' 5:30. It's way too early, but I'll just deal with it. Like, I probably don't even need to get up that early, but I'll do it anyway, just so there's no risk of me missing it or whatever. And so I'm getting ready in the night, and so here's where it starts getting into gross and personal territory. So it really, really, really stings when I pee. So I'm like, okay, this is good. Why? And there's nothing I can do about it, because it's like midnight, and I have to get up in 5 hours. So I'm just like, I guess I'll deal with this later. And I'm just kind of hoping it'll go away. And this leads to, like, and the thing is, like, I'm also now thinking that, it's probably because of a kidney stone, because I had to see the doctor, like, a couple months ago when I thought that I was dying of heart failure, and I actually wasn't. That's also a story that I think I've told, I don't remember when I did. But, so, like, they ran some tests that time or whatever, and then they're like, oh, there's blood in your urine. And I'm like, oh, that sounds lovely, okay. So they give me a freaking ultrasound, and they're like, yeah, you have a very, very small kidney stone. Like, it might be a little uncomfortable to pass, but it shouldn't be that bad. I'm like, okay, great, I look forward to it. So I'm thinking that maybe that's what this is. And so I wake up, and it's still excruciating in the morning. But I can't do anything about it. And I happen to notice that we actually have over-the-counter pills for urinary tract infection. So I take a couple of those just in case. I'm like, if that's what the problem is, then this'll help, hopefully, and I won't, like, die. But, so I have to, I head outside, and I have to get on this bus at, like, 6:15 or whatever. I leave, like, the bus stop is, like, 2 feet away from the apartment. So I head outside, and I get over to, where the bus stop is supposed to be according to the app. Like, it has the satellite map and, like, shows my current position where the thing's supposed to be. And, so it's a north to south street. And on the right side of the road, there's a bus stop. But if a bus was going that way, they'd be heading the wrong way. And on the opposite side, there is not a bus stop. There's not a sign for it, at least. But the app says it's gonna stop there. So, and it's like, it's 5:30, or it's like 6 in the morning. It's fucking pitch black, so I can't even see anything. Like, I'm kind of looking both directions to see if there's, like, another bus stop somewhere. I don't see one. So I wait there. bus comes by, drives right the fuck past me, and stops, like, 100 feet away, and I, like, try to catch up to it, but I can't. So I missed the bus. And... okay, so, hold on, we're heading into Victory Road here. There's a couple things in here I need to catch. I'll try to catch them when I do, but I'm not going to interrupt the story. Because this is the story of, buses and peeing. It's a good story. So, also, I love this. I gotta point this out. Like, in Gen 1, you have, like, this big dramatic thing where, like, you go past all the people who individually check for each badge, and it's, like, this whole big thing. This one's like, oh, you got all 8, go ahead. And then this guy's like, oh my god, you can't go this way. And this guy's like, this is gonna lead to a residential area, you're not allowed. But, so, Victory Road. Okay, so anyway, like I said, I missed the bus, and now I know where the bus stop actually is, and so I check the thing, and the next one's in like 20 minutes, so I have to just stand around outside, in moderate pain, in like, it's 6 in the morning, but it's still hotter than I'd like it to be. I'm just generally uncomfortable, and I'm like, I fucking hate this. Like, if I somehow miss this bus, I'm just gonna get the Uber, but I don't. The bus comes, I get on it, and then I have to transfer to a second bus, and then I have to transfer to a third bus. By the time I get on the third one, I was like, I forget what I was trying to check. Oh, hey, right on. This is actually a rare encounter, I need to catch this. I was trying to check something. I don't remember what it was. And, okay, hold on, this is... he has high physical defense. Shadow Ball shouldn't KO. I'm gonna just really hope that it doesn't. But, yeah, I'm checking something on the app, I, like, back out of my current route, and at this point now, because I'm actually already on the bus, and, like, it's already left, so it's not showing up as, like, a future thing I need to do, once I go back into the, like, route info, it's not showing what stop I actually need to get off of now, because I've already done it. So I'm like, okay, well, fuck, I need to figure out where I'm supposed to get off here, or I don't want to just drop off at some random point in the city. So I, like, have to look up where I'm going again, and I'm just kind of, like, hoping... I'm watching the bus is heading the right way, and I'm like, I hope I just kind of get off it when it's near. And I eventually actually did, and I got lucky. So I get to the courthouse, and it's this giant-ass room. There's, like, a couple hundred people in there. And, so... here's the thing with jury duty. They always call way more people than they need, because you never know how many of them are going to be, like, unfit to serve or whatever. And so we get in there, and, like, everybody's seated, and then the guy comes in, and he's like, alright, so here's what we're doing today, and, like, first we need you to come up and, like, tear off part of your ticket stub and put it in this box. So everybody gets up and does that. And these seats are, like, super, super closely packed together, and it's, like, really annoying to get in and out of them, and you have to, like, constantly squeeze past people. But, so it's like, they do that, and everybody sits down again. And then he's like, now, if anybody needs to validate parking, get up and do that. And so everybody fucking does that again. And then he's like, now, if anybody needs, like, a note to give to their workplace, come up and do that. And I'm like, can we just do this all at once? Like... why are we trying this out so much? So, after all this time wasted, like, we finally get all this stuff out of the way. It's like, okay, now we're gonna be showing a video about, like, what all we're gonna be doing. And it's this stupid, like, 25-minute long indoctrination about, like, how the frickin' court system works and what your role is in it and, like, all this stupid stuff. And so it ends, and... I think, like, even more time passes before, like, the guy even says anything else. Like, there's a bunch of time wasted. I had to be there by 8. I swear it was already, like, 10 o'clock by this point. So he's like, alright, so we're gonna need to call, like, on your ticket stub, you have a number that says, like, what your juror number is. We're gonna be calling numbers 1 through 131. and you'll be going to this room. And so everybody leaves, and I look at mine, and my number's like 852. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not ready yet. And then he's like, okay, for section 2, 132 through 666. And he's like, no, I'm not kidding, that's actually the number. And like some people laughed, of course, and I'm just like, why is this second group such a bigger range? This is really weird, so I guess I'm in the third group then. And keep in mind, he never said how many groups there were gonna be. So then he's like, okay, 667 through 825, you're in the third one. Like, there's, okay, I guess I'm in the next one then. I didn't know there was gonna be 4. And so they all leave. And it's like, we don't actually know if there's gonna be a 4th case, we're trying to find that out. So you've got about 45 minutes to just kind of hang out here. Like, you can go get a snack or something, and then just be back at 11. Like, okay. This has been a good day so far. So, we wait around. 45 minutes pass, he comes back. Yeah, there's no 4th case, so you can all just leave. That was it. He individually calls a bunch of names, and says, like, when I read your name, just say you're here, and then you can leave, and goes through all the names. I was not one of the names. There was like 20 people, including myself, that just weren't named for some reason. We went up, he scanned our ticket, and then we left. So, it's 11 o'clock, I'm just kind of in Dallas, and I don't know what to do with myself, and I'm no longer in pain, but I'm afraid of, like, what may come later. So, I'm, like, hesitant to really do much, but I'm like, you know what, fuck it, I just start roaming the streets. So, I don't really do anything interesting, unfortunately. I just kind of headed towards the area where there were buildings, and then, like, looked up where a restaurant was. Like, I found this Tex-Mex place, I just got some food, and then I had to take a train back, and it was not particularly interesting. But I get back, and the entire day I'm terrified of, like, the pain that I had had earlier in the day, so I, like, never went to the bathroom again. And again, I apologize for it being kind of gross that I'm having to talk about this, but, so I go to the bathroom. Fucking neon bright fruit punch Kool-Aid red. I'm like, oh shit. It was frickin', like, oh my god. So I'm like, okay, this is not good. I probably need to see a doctor, but fuck if I want to do it today. I'll just go tomorrow and hope that I don't die. So, I take some more pills, and the day continues, and it ranges between red or neon orange, or just all sorts of excellent colors. And, so, go to bed, I get up the next day, I call the doctor's office, I get Joel to take me over there. And so they see me, and I tell them, like, hey, there's, like, blood in my urine, and I'm concerned. And I leave a sample. And so they have me waiting in the room with the door open, and there's, like, a bunch of people outside the door, and I just hear them talking about, like, the coloration is unusual, and it could be something wrong with the kidneys, and it could be this. I'm like, can we not fucking talk about this with me hearing it and, like, giving me bad ideas? So, eventually someone comes in and they're like, so, there's actually no blood in there, but it's, like, really, really orange. So we need to know, like, what happened. I'm just like, I don't know, like, so, like, I'm like, get the doctor in here and I'll tell the whole story. So I explain what happened. Turns out that the pills I took have a side effect of just making it red that I was unaware of. So there was actually no real problem here. It was just I took some medicine and that made it seem like it was gonna be really, really bad, and it wasn't. So, it was mostly a scare for nothing, but then that still leaves the question, why did it hurt so bad in the first place? And so the fucking doctor, so there's the doctor who's like this really old guy. There's, I don't know if she was a doctor or a nurse or whatever, but there's another lady in there. And then there's like this guy in training. And so the doctor and the guy in training are talking, and he's like, the doctor's basically like, it could be an STD, could be chlamydia. And I'm just like, I don't think it is. Just saying, like, I wouldn't have done anything that would have led to me getting that. And it's like, oh, you don't have multiple partners? I'm like, no, I don't even have one. Like, it's not chlamydia. Just, like, I can guarantee you that it's not. And it was the most fucking stupid conversation. So, you're just like, yeah, it was just just an infection, whatever, we'll send some antibiotics over to Walmart and you can pick them up. I'm like, okay, great, good. So that was basically it. That's the story of how I randomly caught chlamydia from nothing, except I didn't actually. And, I got to waste 8 hours in Dallas doing nothing. It was a good story. God damn. These are the stories that people come for when they're watching a Pokemon video. Having frickin' bright red piss, and yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry. Okay. So, as I'm sure you've noticed, Victory Road is very, very exciting. It's full of the usual Pokemon you find in caves. And no trainers, and no puzzles. The only new things in here were Rhyhorn and Rhydon. And, I guess there's some items here and there. There might actually be stuff in here that I want. I want to say the Earthquake TM is in here. I should probably double check that. I'm gonna do that right now, actually. But, yeah, there's exactly one trainer here, and, I do want to be prepared for that fight when I get to it. But, yeah, the rest of this is just kind of a non-issue. Is my team healed? It is not particularly healed. No, let me take care of that. I'm gonna put Camilla in the front, because she has a high speed. So I can at least run away from wild encounters and stuff. But yeah, so Gen 1, Elite 4, or not Elite 4, but, whatchamacallit, Victory Road. You've got, like, a bunch of trainers, you've got some strength boulder puzzles. Like, it's a decent final dungeon. That is also the case in every other generation, more or less. Not so much in Gen 2. I don't know what happened here. Everyone left for vacation, I guess. Okay, so yeah, let me check the, fuck it. I think the Earthquake TM is in here, but I don't know for sure. If I find it, then great. If I don't, I'll get it next time. It's not like I'm challenging the Elite Four today, anyway. I think what I'm gonna do is just fight the trainer here, and then, we'll just kind of do the Rhyhorn and Rhydon bios, like, at the end. Like I said, this is going to be kind of a shorter one. And, I think I might actually already be at the end of the cave here. And is this the end? Yes, it is.
Hold it right there, boy and robot. Don't make me laugh. Just look at how many zipper...
No, we're not going there again. Okay, do you have a full team of 6? Yes, you do. I've got a team of 5, and also a Sea King. And I guess we're leading with a Sneasel Fest. However, mine has a fighting type move, which will very easily one-shot this thing, if it actually connects. That's a big if. So, let's try. And there we go. Now, I will point out that after this battle, there's nothing standing between me and doing the Elite Four other than just preparation. And the Elite Four's levels start at 40 and end at 50 in this game. I could potentially get through it with the levels I have now if I'm smart about it and pack enough items. I still might want to do some, like, grinding, though. I'm not 100% sure on that yet. You're weak to fire. I'm just... sure. I actually don't have a good counter for a Typhlosion. I have Debbie, but she's not in my party right now. I'm assuming this is his strongest Pokemon, because it's the starter. I don't think he would have anything higher level than this. So let's talk Gen 2 rival for a minute here. Like, a lot of people... I know I've probably talked about this in other videos, but god, I don't remember. It's been forever. Like, a lot of people seem to love the rivals from the first 2 generations because they're, like, actually a jerk to you, and, like, it's somebody that you want to be able to beat. Whereas in the, like, later games, it's usually a friend that doesn't really offer that much of a threat. And they just kind of, like, they show up and they're like, hey, let's have a friendly battle, and then you do, and then that's it. And I don't disagree with that. I kind of do like having, like, a rival that you can be satisfied to defeat, and, like, kind of isn't just a happy-go-lucky character, but... I mean... I also don't really like Silver that much. Like, he's just kind of an asshole, and he, like, hates everybody and doesn't really have a specific beef with you other than the fact that you, like, you run into him a lot. Like, he's not even trying to challenge the League, is he? He's just... He probably has said in dialogue somewhere and I've just not paid attention, but, like, his beef is usually just with Team Rocket and, like, people who are weak. Like, I don't think he specifically wants to be the champion or whatever. I don't know. So. I'm probably a moron. He probably just said that in the text before this and I just wasn't reading it, so don't mind me. But it's like with Blue or Gary or whatever you want to call him, like, there's an obvious, like, he wants to be the best that there ever was, etc. Like, is racing you through the gyms and becomes champion first, and it's like, he's a good rival. And then in later ones, it's usually just like, here's this other person that you know from your childhood, and they want to also become champion or become the strongest they can, but, like, depending on what game it is, they'll either, like, give up halfway through, or they'll just kind of be very half-assed about it. I didn't mean to run. But, I don't know, I didn't really have much of a point here, I was just kind of rambling a bit. Let's just kind of switch for the hell of it. I don't really need to switch, but I'm just trying to use different team members here. Good. Well, it's not like it hit anyway, so whatever. That's a lot of damage from a stomp, my goodness. I know Kadabra has really low physical defense, but man. Also, I will I'll at least point out the fact that his team is actually fairly fitting for his character, because the Golbat never evolved, because Golbat evolves through happiness, and he doesn't treat his Pokemon well. The Haunter and the Kadabra haven't evolved because he doesn't trust anybody enough to trade. I assume is like what they're going for with that. And then you have the Sneasel that was presumably stolen from that guy in Cian Wood that had the Shuckle. So it's kind of interesting to see the team develop, even if some of them are pretty common Pokemon. It at least is like thematically appropriate. And yeah, pretty much. Well, nice knowing you. Let me get you back in here. Let's see if, oh yeah, I'm a moron. See, I keep forgetting that I have a completely physical, well, not Ice Punch, but a mostly physical moveset on Camilla here, and, Shadow Ball would be very effective in this case. I was, for some reason, like, I'm so used to thinking that Sneasel's stats don't line up with its typing that, like, I was thinking, like, I could use a dark move, but it's gonna do jack shit for damage, but it's like, yeah, Shadow Ball, that kind of works. So, that was Baklava. But, yeah, here we have a little bit of, like, the character redemption, I guess. It just kind of is like, I've done what I can, and it isn't good enough because I'm going about it the wrong way. Decent enough message, I suppose. And that was Victory Road. Oh, and that was Route 23. I like this route. It's real good. This route has, seen a few changes. I think... Let me... hold on. Yeah, in Gen 1, going left from Viridian, the one that goes east to west is 22, I think. No. Hold on, it's... Yeah, it is. And then the one that goes north to south is 23, which is the huge route that has, like, all the badge checkers. It has some wild encounters, like all the water. It has Victory Road in it. In this game, it's just this. This is it. It's a good route. And then in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, it just doesn't exist. The route numbers just jump from 22 to 24. It's real good. So... that's about all I got here. Let me see if I can figure out where the, Earthquake TM was. I'm just straight up Googling Gen 2 Earthquake TM. I thought it was in Victory Road. It is. Yeah, I should probably go back and get that. I need to do bios on Rhyhorn and Rhydon anyway, so let me go grab, Debbie real quick, just so I can do some grinding as I look around, I guess, and that's about it. I don't even know how long this video has been going, but, I think as soon as those bios are done, we'll probably wrap this up. Once I get the Earthquake TM, I can clone that, at least teach it to, David, probably a couple other things. It is a good move. Wow. And, unless I decide to do something weird, like a, possible video of just, like, evolving a bunch of stuff without any other content in it, I think next time we're going to be doing the Elite Four. But I will, see you for that, I suppose. Here we have Rhyhorn, and I feel like I'm probably going to be repeating half of the stuff I said about Sandslash for this one, but the main difference here is that I actually do like Rhyhorn, and I can't really explain why. There's really not much going for it, I just think it has a cool design. And that was exactly what I said about Sandslash, and yet I didn't really care, so I don't know. Just personal taste. So, The main complaint I had about Sandslash was that it had basically no move set and didn't learn any moves of its own type, and yeah, that applies to Rhyhorn as well. So, Rhyhorn is a ground rock type, not a rock ground type, mind you, ground rock, because the order totally matters. Does not learn any ground or rock moves without TMs. In the early generations, at least. It has been fixed since then, thankfully, but I usually am talking about the old games with these. So, in Gen 1, it gets Horn Attack and Stomp, which are the same move, same base power, both normal type. There's no reason for it to have both. Then it gets Tail Whip at 35, definitely a level it needs to be learning that. Fury Attack, Horn Drill. Horn Drill, one of those instant kill moves. They're not usually my style, but it's there if you want it. Then at level 50, it gets Leer. Mind telling me why it gets Tail Whip and Leer when they both just reduce defense by one stage, and that's it? Like, why does it need both? It doesn't even have a tail. Like, why did it have Tail Whip to begin with? And then it gets Takedown at 55, and then that's it. So, you're going to want to use some TMs on this one. Thankfully, it does get a couple decent moves through those. Also, for some reason, it gets Thunderbolt, Thunder, and Fire Blast. It does not have the stats to use those because it is very much loaded with HP, physical attack, and defense. It has absolutely no special stat or speed, so like, you're not going to want to use those moves on it. But yeah, that's its loadout for Gen 1. In Gen 2, they gave it Earthquake, past its level of evolution, mind you, so not really going to be much use on it, but at least it's there. And then in Gen 3, they finally gave it Rock Blast, and then from there it just kind of improved slightly each time, and now it actually has a moveset that is not awful. Yeah, if you're going to be using one of these, it's usually pretty late in the game anyway, at which point it'll kind of have most of its moveset sort of available to it. And if it's Gen 5 or later, then you've got the Infinite TM, so it's not a huge deal. But the earliest you can ever get one is in X and Y, in the Glittering Cave, which is before the second gym. And then the second earliest would be Platinum, where you can get out on a route like between the third and fourth gym. Other than that, it's usually like Safari Zone or post-game, or just like really late. And speaking of Safari Zone, I always sort of saw this thing as like one of the mascots. Like, you go in and one of the first things you encounter is either a pile of eggs or this like big plated rhino thing, and I'm just like, I know which one I kind of want to go for. But that's pretty much just its design. I like its mishmash of random geometrical shapes that don't really fit together. It's just kind of like a big pile of blocks. But it's a rhino, and its name is Rhyhorn, so it's a rhino with a horn, even though rhinos already have horns. And its Japanese name is Psyhorn, and Psy also means rhino, so not much was changed there either. So, like I said, I can't really explain why I like this one. I just think the design of it is neat, and that's all it really has. Rhydon is sort of an interesting Pokemon, but not necessarily at first glance. Basically everything that could have been said about Rhyhorn applies to this one, just in terms of moveset, stat, loadout, availability, all that stuff, so we don't really need to go into any of that again. As far as the design goes, it's definitely fairly different from Rhyhorn. It obviously became bipedal and is just sort of like cleaned up a bit. It's not as jagged. Not really. It's still monstrous, but not in the same sense. It looks more like a classical, like, sort of kaiju type thing rather than like an actual animal that you might encounter. So depending on your personal taste on that, you might prefer one over the other. I personally think they're both pretty decent, but I don't know, I might lean towards Rhyhorn a little bit. And the name, again, pretty straightforward. We've got the rhino, and like the Japanese name is Sidon, and Sai again just means rhino. The Don part is a suffix that they use on a ton of different Pokemon names, basically just means king or whatever. So not really much to go into there. The thing that makes Rhydon interesting is the fact that it is allegedly the first Pokemon ever created. I say allegedly because there is some debate on that, even though it was said pretty much straight up in an interview by Sugimori. But there's a little bit of evidence that says it might not be. Basically, before Pokemon really became a thing, there was a different project being worked on called Capsule Monsters that sort of turned into Pokemon. And it was one of the first capsule monsters introduced, or at least something very similar to Rhydon. It did look a little bit different. But it was also introduced alongside Clefairy and Lapras, apparently, and it was never really said which of the three was the absolute first one. And I've also seen some evidence that Nidorino might have been one of the first, and possibly even Gengar, which is why you see those in the opening to, like, red and green version. But Rhydon's the one that people usually cling to, and there's a few reasons for that. One of them is because the Gen 1 internal Pokemon order does not actually follow Pokedex order. It's kind of arbitrary, and Rhydon is slot number 1. And there's also just a lot of things that kind of point to it as being like a default creature. Like you see it on the statues inside the gyms. It's the generic like monster sprite in the party menu. And then also the substitute doll basically looks like a baby version of it, even though a baby Rhydon would be a Rhyhorn. This is like a whole different thing in itself. And that I always found interesting because some of the glitch Pokemon, like, I don't think Missing No, but I want to say M-Block, like, if they evolve, they would evolve into a Rhydon. And in Pokemon Stadium, the model for the glitch Pokemon would be the substitute doll, so it's like you have the baby evolving into the full, like, adult Rhydon, which is kind of neat. Its body type is also kind of just reused a lot. It's very, very similar to Nidoking and Nidoqueen and Kangaskhan. They're all just kind of these big, like, dinosaurish, like, drill monster things with big tails and kind of, like, bony plating and spikes and stuff. Like, they all have their own individuality, but it's just kind of interesting how many of those there were. And I think there was, like, another one that was actually in the beta that got scrapped. I forget what that thing was called. Also, it can learn Surf for some reason. I have no idea why, and Gen 2 had a guy that had a surfing Rhydon. Don't ask me. Also, Rhyperior is a thing. Not really much to say about this one, because it's not in Gen 2, but I usually do mention these. This was one of the more hated Gen 4 evolutions, from what I've seen, like, at least when it first came out. I don't usually see too many fans of it. A lot of people say it's, like, too busy of a design, and it didn't really need to exist. I am indifferent towards it. I don't love it, but I also kind of agree it didn't really need to happen. It does look a little bit bulky and weird. I'm not sure why it has like all the orange plating on it, but it's an okay enough design. I would be fine with using one if it wasn't a stupid trait evolution. That's really the main problem I have against it. And really though, it's just kind of unneeded. It was a 50 base stat point total increase from Rhydon, which is really not that much. There were plenty of other Pokemon that could have used the boost. If anything, it just made Rhydon more usable with Eviolite in Gen 5. And its one main thing is that it has the ability Solid Rock, which reduces the power of like super effective moves, which is nice. But yeah, overall just not really a Pokemon that anybody asked for. So I can kind of see why people dislike this one, even if it is a little bit undeserved. Did not realize there was a trainer here. I guess we'll fight this guy then. And he is a Twitter addict, apparently. And his name is Joe's. And yes, I know it's not actually Joe's, I'm just being stupid. This is a good battle to end on. We had the rival fight, and then we just have this random guy with a Farfetch'd. Should at least be a Surfetch'd by this point. God. By the way, I'm still probably actually going to get Pokemon Shield. As much as I bitched about it last time, I am somewhat, like, intrigued. Not because of Surfetch'd, mind you, but, I don't know, I just feel like it still could probably be good. Doesn't mean I have to be happy about all of the decisions in the game. What was TM22? Solar Beam. Can anything learn that? That's surprising. It beats Peck. I might go for that. So, Solar Beam on Natalie, Earthquake on David and James, I think. I'll just have to do some TM cloning. And because I said I would show it at some point and I never did, yeah, Tully is the fisher that gives water stones. Real good info there. You could have never looked that up anywhere else. But yeah, bye for real.